one of the biggest names in the UFC today, continues to be in the spotlight. The light heavyweight champion, who has impressed with his frequent activity in the Octagon, has confirmed that he will defend his title for the third time, facing Khalil Rountree at UFC 307 in Salt Lake City. The choice of Rountree, who is only ranked 8th, has not been well received by everyone, especially Jamahal Hill, who wasted no time criticizing the decision. Hill, who was knocked out by Poatan at UFC 300, implied that choosing Rountree as an opponent was not the most challenging option. However, Poatan, with his usual calmness, brushed off the criticism and took a jab at Hill, suggesting that he is still trying to stay relevant at the expense of his fame. At 37, Poatan has shown that he is at the peak of his career. After winning the light heavyweight title last November, he has successfully defended his belt twice and is now preparing for another fight. Additionally, the Brazilian has expressed interest in returning to the middleweight division to face current champion Dricus du Plessis, proving that he is not afraid of new challenges. Meanwhile, Jamahal Hill, who entered the UFC through the Contender Series and made history as the first champion revealed by the program, continues to try to recover from the tough loss to Poatan, and his taunts seem to be an attempt to stay in the spotlight. Jon Jones, a true MMA legend, has once again raised the possibility of retirement, even as he prepares for one of the most anticipated fights of his career. The UFC heavyweight champion is focused on facing Stipe Miocic in a clash that promises to be epic. Jones, who at 37 has already defeated nearly all the big names in the sport, expressed on his social media his desire to end his career on a high note, joining sports icons like Tom Brady and Floyd Mayweather. Although the fight against Miocic has not been officially confirmed yet, it is expected to take place in November at UFC 309. In addition to discussing his retirement, Jones also mentioned other potential opponents, such as Tom Aspinall, but made it clear that his total focus is on Miocic, whom he deeply respects. Miocic, who recently turned 42 and has been inactive for a long period, has been the subject of criticism, but Jones does not underestimate his opponent. He believes that Miocic, with enough time to recover and prepare, still has a lot to offer in the Octagon. For Jones, this fight is more than just a title defense. It is an opportunity to further solidify his legacy as one of the greatest of all time. Dana White, UFC president, did not hide his outrage towards Merab Dvalishvili, the bantamweight challenger. The Georgian, who is scheduled to face champion Sean O'Malley at UFC 306, caused controversy by posting a video on his social media showing a cut suffered during training. Although the injury is not severe enough to jeopardize the fight, White was furious with Merab's decision to expose the injury, accusing him of giving his opponent an unnecessary advantage. During a press conference, Dana did not hold back, calling Merab's action stupid and criticizing the trend of fighters sharing sensitive information online. Merab Dvalishvili, who is at the peak of his career, with a 10-fight winning streak since 2017, may not have fully considered the consequences of his social media post. Making his UFC debut in 2017, he suffered 2 losses in his early fights, but has since been unstoppable, earning his shot at the title after defeating Henry Cejudo earlier this year. Despite the controversy, anticipation for the showdown against O'Malley remains high, and it remains to be seen if this controversy will impact Merab's performance inside the Octagon. Following the recent revelation from Dana White, UFC president, who harshly criticized Merab Dvalishvili for exposing an injury on social media and giving his opponent, Sean O'Malley, an unnecessary advantage, the MMA world was once again stirred, this time by controversial statements from one of the sport's most iconic figures. Ronda Rousey, known for her strong personality and for being a pioneer in women's MMA, made statements that brought to light memories and controversies that seemed to be dormant. In a recent interview with Canadian host Chris Van Vliet, Ronda claimed that the success of women's MMA was only possible because of her, asserting that she saved the sport for women and was directly responsible for the inclusion of the division in the UFC. For Ronda, the landscape of women's MMA was fragile, and without her presence, the future for women in the sport could have been entirely different. The former fighter recalled that at the time, Strikeforce was the only organization providing visibility to women, largely due to Gina Carano, Another pioneer in the sport, who, according to Ronda, had crucial support from her father, involved with the Nevada Athletic Commission. However, Ronda didn't just recount her version of events, but also reignited an old rivalry with Brazilian Chris Cyborg, with whom she never fought but always had a troubled relationship. Ronda attacked Cyborg, accusing her of using steroids and contributing to the decline of the women's division after Gina Carano's departure. In her words, when Gina left, Chris Cyborg was filled with steroids up to her gills. No one wants to watch that cheating bitch. Everything went downhill. According to Ronda, the women's division was dying, and the UFC's purchase of Strikeforce only worsened the situation, as the organization's focus was on absorbing male talent and disregarding women. Ronda Rousey's statements reignite an intense debate about the impact of her career on women's MMA and the rivalry that marked her journey, especially with Chris Cyborg. Gina Carano, mentioned by Ronda as one of the people responsible for popularizing women's MMA, also left her mark on the sport before retiring to pursue a successful acting career, participating in major franchises like Fast and Furious and Deadpool. Ronda's comments put into perspective the role of the sport's pioneers and how they shaped what we now know as women's MMA in the UFC, while also exposing the wounds of a rivalry that never got resolved inside the Octagon. Ronda's stance, while reinforcing her image as a sports legend, also opens the floor for discussions about the future of women's MMA and the legacy left by its pioneers. Would history have been different without Ronda Rousey? And to what extent do her provocations reflect reality? The fact is that the impact of her words, just like her fights, continues to reverberate, keeping the flame of a debate that seems far from over. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with all the UFC news, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new content every day. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and we'll see you in the next video.